All right, ladies, and we are back. I hope you all had a good break. Ya regresamos, espero hayan tenido un buen receso. Up next, we have MJ Kwan with uh, Luthier Income Survey Summary and Analysis. MJ is originally from Austin, Texas, and now lives in Brooklyn. MJ began her Lutherie pursuits in architecture school, building a guitar in the evening hours of the woodshop, before eventually enrolling in a violin making school. MJ loves the balance of physical labor and mental stimulation and is proud to share nerd skills like math, CAD, data analysis, and Illustrator with our community. Check out her Fingerboard Survey and Analysis. As her career advances, she'll continue developing data analysis for instrument making and facilitating ongoing information exchange. MJ will be summarizing the results of the Luthier Income Survey on an ongoing project she leads at Women in Lutherie to gather baseline information on worldwide income standards in the field of Lutherie, examining how factors such as location, type of training, length of experience, gender, race, COVID-19, family situations, etc., affect 2019 to 2021 earnings across the globe. Hey, MJ! Oh, I think you're on mute. You need to. I can't hear you. Can everybody else hear MJ? I can't hear MJ.
It's not showing muted, but I think it might be an audio input setting.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also doesn't show me that it's muted, but I still can't hear her. We can't hear you.
I cannot hear you. If you select built-in microphone, internal microphone, maybe, or same as system sometimes works.
Anything there?
There.
You can hear me?
Yes.
It's because I was gonna try to be fancy and use a microphone, but couldn't do that. So you get my computer speaker today, or computer microphone.
Well, go ahead, MJ, take it away.
All right, I will. I'm gonna share my screen. And yeah, all right, here we are. So thanks for coming to learn about the Luthier Income Survey. If you participated, thanks for making this all possible too. This survey was created last year to help luthiers anonymously contribute their income information. The survey launched in September, and we weren't sure how many people in the wider Lutherie community would take to filling out a survey of this breadth. So some of you may remember last year I presented a preliminary analysis at the first Women in Lutherie conference. In today's presentation, we're gonna update the numbers and slice things up in finer detail. So yeah, the survey remains open until the end of this year for any luthiers to take. I'll put a link in the chat, and if you do take it, you'll get counted in the final PDF report, which will be released early 2023. So there's still going to be one more round, one more update, basically. Let me throw my links up. Oh, somebody else did it. Thanks. Okay, cool. So, all right. So precedents. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes its occupational employment and wage statistics and gets detailed down to this category here, which is musical instrument repairs and tuners. This includes repairs of other instrument families, but it only looks at payrolled employees and it excludes self-employed individuals, which is something that we're also very interested in seeing. So that's what I've seen so far of any study done on our industry. And it's not quite as detailed as we'd like. So our survey was designed to provide a snapshot of the current makeup of the industry and explore what factors influence compensation and track compensation volatility over time for different groups. The Women in Lutherie organization was formed a year into the COVID pandemic, and at the beginning we had many interesting conversations with anecdotes and observations about how we were doing and how the pandemic was affecting us and more. And there were also questions from younger participants, like, should I enroll in a school? Is it better to start out that way? How much is a normal salary in some, new city, etc. And that those kinds of questions, in our conversations, we realized there's really no hard evidence to back up the advice that we give and the observations that we make. So we got to go collect some info. So this survey collects information on experience and training, on type of work and the nature of the work and income over 3 years. We collected location to be able to factor out cost of living when making comparisons, and personal demographics, which were optional. A word of caution on making use of this data. This is, an issue in a lot of data, anything. So I'm going to reiterate this later on, but the data we are collecting is a capture of today's condition. So you have to be really cautious about basing compensation expectations off of what you see here, as this runs a risk of perpetuating existing conditions. And so we hope that this project brings awareness to inequities or whatever, and furthers investigations and promotes the development of support systems to improve upon today's conditions. In this presentation, I will not be making speculations, or I'll be avoiding making speculations as to why the data shows what it shows. But I am presenting it as is as much as possible and leaving the interpretation and implications up to the viewer. So, okay, I've got like 35 graphs to share with you, so buckle up, we gotta fly. Section 1 will help you understand who participated in the survey, since it's important to know what groups are being well represented. I'm not going to spend too much time here because there's some other stuff we want to chew on more. So the survey was posted to various groups on Facebook, as well as Instagram and MeisterNet, and Oma gave us a shout out, so many responses came through Facebook and word of mouth. How did you start in the field of Lutherie? We asked this, and majority of participants entered through schooling, and others entered through on-the-job training, unpaid internships, and some were self-taught, and some went through standalone workshops and classes. This is a distribution of how many years of experience people have, including training. So in our question, we asked people to count the years that they trained as well as part of their years of experience. So the survey got many responses from people with 5 to 15 years of experience. That participants range from quite new in the field to having over 45 years of experience. So just a quick refresher on what the mean means. The mean is the average. So that means if you add everyone up, all their years of experience, and then divide by the number of people, you get the average. And the median is if you line everyone up in order from least to most years of experience, and then go to the person at the halfway point and ask them how many years of experience they have. That's the median. So when the median is less than the mean, like we have here, then it means that the data distribution skews a little bit low. So this graph is a perfect example because the mean is almost 18 and the median is 15. And the big humpy part here is closer to the low side, meaning there's a higher concentration of people with fewer years of experience. All right, statistics lesson over. The next few graphs are on the nature of work. So here we're going to show the blue bars are going to be representing 2019, and then red is 2020, and yellow is 2021. And note that because because the survey opened in September 2021, there are some responses were collected before the end of the year, and so there were projections. But in general, they're pretty accurate. So our participants are mostly employed by shops, or they're self-employed. And you can see a decrease in payrolled employees and an increase in self-employed employees, self-employed people. So yeah, okay, next. This shows what percentage of people were working continuously through the year. So in 2019, you can see like a large drop between 2019 and 2020. I wonder why. And then some recovery of continuous work in 2021. The survey asked, of those months worked, how many hours per week were you working? So this graph is a distribution of the hours per week worked during the months that people were working. Yeah. The main idea here is that almost half of the participants had 40-ish hours work weeks. And then on average, we kind of moved from like 38.6 down to 37.1 hours per week, and then back up to 37.8 in 2021. This chart shows what types of instruments participants were working on or specializing in. So they could check any that applied, and about 85% of participants worked on violins, and 70% worked on cellos, and then fewer on bows, bass, and then a handful on guitar and Baroque instruments. And the types of things that people worked on is pretty stable, but you can see kind of an increase in bow work, which is interesting. Type of work, the other kind of type of work, the last one was instruments, and this is like what type of work you're doing. So almost, okay, so this question asked you to check off any sources, any Lutherie sources, Lutherie related sources of income. So almost 90% of people checked repair, and then the next most common source of income was instrument making, followed by rentals and retail sales, referral, commission, sales, and then a few of these last two here. And everything's relatively stable again, except that you see a big uptick in people who returned to or started instrument making. And so, yeah. I'm gonna go on to income summary, and so to recap, the numbers that we're about to see represent typically repairers and makers who work on violins, violas, and cellos, mostly full-time workers in shops or self-employed. All right, first graph with numbers, with income numbers. Here are the raw averages. So this is raw average, like this is just whatever people wrote down averaged. Averages and medians of all participants' annual income for each year. Participants entered their incomes in USD, so everything's shown in USD. And these numbers are kind of tiny, so I can just read them out real quick. I'm gonna round to the nearest 100 though, because I'm lazy. So the mean was 52,700. Sorry, yeah, the mean annual income was 52,700, dropping down to 45,000 in 2020, and then up to 52,500 in 2021. The median was lower, was quite a bit lower at 41,600, and then 37,000, and then 40,000, back up to 40,000 in 2021. So remember that the discrepancy between the mean and the median indicates skewing. So more people were making less than the average, and yeah, some people were making a lot more, and so that's why the median is higher. The hourly rate was calculated from how many months and hours per week participants reported working. So the means read about $25.70 down to $23.67, and then back up to $28.04. And the medians are $21.50 down to just under $21, and then up to $23.24 26 an hour. The continents represented here, yeah, so obviously, this is very North America heavy, and it's very, very USA heavy. The survey also reached some Europeans, and then there were a handful of participants from South America and Australia. If we take a look at the 17 European participants only, this is a very small sample size, so it's not, you know, but I didn't want to like only show US data from now on, so here you get a little European data. The averages drop from 43,900 to 31,300, and then they rise back up to 39,600 US dollars, or equivalent, in 2021. The medians go from 28,500 down to 20,000, and then back up to 30,000. So yeah, I'm not gonna read the numbers forever. So anyway, I'm going to flip to US, and you're going to see a very large difference here. But yeah, so this is Europe, and then this is the US. So in the US, people are making more in US dollars compared to the Europeans, despite the same-ish. Well, actually, the European group has more experience on average than the US group, and still the US group is making more. But this doesn't account for, you know, cost of living things and all these other things. And so in this US sheet here, here are the annual and hourly incomes of 83 American luthiers who provided their metro area. So I'll get more into this like regional price adjustment later in a couple of slides. So I've thrown up also some occupations with comparable incomes according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, which I think is very fun. The average annual incomes went, yeah, we're 54,300, which is comparable to athletes, coaches, umpires, and then went down to like truck driver level at 45,800-ish, and then up to 53,800, which is what postal service workers are making on average in the US. I'll just let you check out this slide. I don't need to read the whole thing. Okay, so if you are in an expensive city, you know that the national average income won't go as far in your city. So we're going to talk about regional price parity. In other words, how much is that in my metro area? Whoops, where am I? Okay. Okay, so the US Bureau of Economic Analysis puts out a regional price parity index for many US metro areas. You can check out these two links. I don't know if somebody's got that handy for posting in the chat. You can check it, check if your metro area is there. They've got many, like 320 metro areas. So yeah. Regional price parity is expressed as a percentage of the overall national level. It's an estimate of equivalent purchasing power, basically kind of like a cost of living index. So here are some RPP indices of some of the metro areas represented in the survey, with the US average being 100. So this is all compared to the US average. So as an example, according to the US, according to this US Bureau of Economic Analysis, $94 in Nashville has the same purchasing power as $125 in New York City. Just a little personal note, as someone who has lived in several of these cities, I personally find this RPP metric to be a little bit compressed. There are other cost of living indexes out there, and they'll turn up more extreme spreads, but this is what we're working with today. The US average is 100, and all the income charts we're showing are normalized to 100. So for example, suppose you want to know what the average US income in 2021 is equivalent to in your city, you would find your index and then multiply it times 54,000, or like whatever, you know, whatever the normalized thing that you're trying to convert to your place is. or the adjusted things to be adjusted. And
Jay, just a friendly 5-minute reminder.
5 minutes. Oh,
question.
I better hurry up.
It's a lot longer than it seems.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna zoom then. All right. So great. This is how you calculate it. And then basically, yeah, we got to get to the good stuff. So here we go. We normalize everybody's numbers first, and then we so yeah, we basically, like, if I was making, if I were making 68,000 in New York City, then and in the chart, then it would show up as 54,000, so that everybody can be compared against each other without worrying about that. So keep an eye on experience as well, because that's an important characteristic for when you're trying to make clean comparisons. And then any groups that have less than 5 participants or fewer we won't average them, because we need to keep them unidentifiable. So apologies for the US centricness of this analysis. We just need more participation from everyone else. And so spread the word and stuff. Okay, so next, income versus type of work. So in this graph, I'm not gonna do numbers anymore. Well, sometimes I will, but right now I'm not gonna do numbers, because right now we're just mostly looking at the trends. But this is hourly income by instrument work, like what type of instrument. And so let's see, important thing here is, oh yeah, so let me just get you used to what's going on in this chart. So n equals is the sample size of this group. So 66, this is 66 people who responded, violin, viola, and then 53, 33, etc. And then the average experience years is down here. And so, okay, I'm gonna fly ahead again. So the type of work we have is repair, restoration, etc. Over here, I think, yeah, the people who experienced the least drop from in 2020 were instrument makers, or people who do instrument making, and then people who experienced the most volatility were sales and referral commissions people. Section 4, income versus type of training. The average hourly income for type of training was as shown. And interestingly, the folks who were trained on the job are working considerably fewer hours than those who started out in full-time schools or unpaid apprenticeships. So as far as the dollar-to-dollar comparisons, it's not, they're kind of even, but you can look in more detail. So this is the means and the medians for all 3 years per category, with the same hours worked chart from the previous slide. So this is the hours worked down below. So over here, the thing to note here is that the median for the trained on the job people is a lot lower here, indicating like that there's a lot of skewing for that group. If you break that further down to see how people are doing in the first decade, so like the people who have less than 10 years of experience, we had enough of a sample to look at these 2 groups. And I think that number is wrong, that should be 7. But anyway, basically the folks who are trained on the job are making a bit less than the people who came out of full-time literary schools. Payrolled versus self-employed. All right, so this is fun. So here's years of experience graphed against your hourly income, and down below is the hours, average hours of work that you did also. And basically, you might expect this to steadily go up, but actually it somehow, in our sample, it caps out at 15 to 19 years of experience. And then it gets kind of bumpy beyond there. And I had a suspicion, so I'm gonna chop it up this way. So we're gonna chop it up looking at just the payroll group and just the self-employed group. And so the payroll group does, the years of experience skews lower anyway. So I'm only showing these 3 groups so that we don't have like groups of like 1 people up here. And everything's like very steadily going up, except right here. I don't know what happened, but yeah, so that's, what you might expect to see. And then you can go on and look at the, at some point people decide to start their own business with enough experience or whenever. And then you can see that 2020 had a much greater impact on self-employed folks. And also note this was a little bit surprising to me how many hours people are working to make things work up here. So yeah, this is the payroll group and this is the self-employed group. And then we're going to look also at just the means and the medians for a self-employed group. So this is a self-employed group, and you can see how it skews here. And then there's a lot less skewing for the payroll group. Sorry I have to go so fast, y'all. I shouldn't have spent so much time in the beginning. Okay, so obviously the self-employed group has more years of experience, 23 years on average, than the payroll group in this slide here, 13 years of experience. And in general, I'm going to flash back and forth. The self-employed group is making more than the payroll group, but the payroll group has benefits that they don't have to take out of their income. So this is what the respondents said as far as like what benefits they have. Next, okay, looking at gender. So, whoops, whoa, too far. Okay, so in our group, we had 82 people respond, and it was 52 people identifying as men and 30 people identifying as women. So looking at annual income, on average, men earned 34% more than women if you average all 3 years for both of these groups. So that's for the annual income, and this is despite equivalent years of experience for both of these groups. So that's, that's not an explanation for why. The gap is smaller looking at the hourly income, which indicates that women are working fewer hours than men. So if you look at the payroll group only, annual income by gender identity, payroll only, then the gap still exists, but it's more like 22%. And then, but the average years of experience is also comparable. Next is the self-employed group. So this is interesting. The self-employed group, the women are making more than the men on average, but it is a very, very small sample. And then also the years of experience is considerably higher on average than the men. And so this better be that way. Anyway, the annual income of these self-employed women with 29 years of experience was about 25% higher than the men's group, which averaged at 21. Next, marital status. So this is the black bars represent the averaged incomes of anyone who checked married domestic partnership, and the gray bars are averaged incomes of those who checked single, divorced, separated, or widowed. And takeaway here is single people make more. Looking at only men, it's somewhat even, but the single men are making a little bit more than married or partnered men, domestic partnered men. And then for the women's group, then the discrepancy is a little bit bigger between married women and single women. So I'm going to go back and forth between these two real quick so you can see the difference. And just overall, the numbers are lower for women. Looking at dependents, I'm almost done. Okay, looking at dependents. Okay, so the brown bars here show the, this is annual income by gender identity with dependents. So this is any marital status, because doesn't mean that having dependents doesn't necessarily mean that you're married. So the men with dependents are making this much, and the women with dependents are making this much. And yeah, and then if you look at the annual incomes or the incomes of people with no dependents, then this is how it breaks down. So hour for hour, like the discrepancy isn't as large, but still women who don't have dependents are also making a bit less, quite a bit less annually than men. So this is with dependents and without dependents. It's like you're at the eye doctor. Okay, so next, 2 more slides. All right. So this is.
All right, we're like at the time, but I think we can do the 2 more slides, even if we cut into the break a little bit.
Okay.
And we only have 1 question. So I think if we do it in the next like 2 minutes, we can get to it.
All right, just gonna slide through these real quick. All right, so annual income by dependents, men only. So this is, what is this? All right, men with dependents, men without dependents. So you can see like it's rather equal or pretty similar whether you have kids or not. If you're a man, you're probably making similar amount. The years of experience is a little bit different here, but anyway, so that's that. And then if you look at the same graph for women, then when you are a woman with dependents, then you are making less than women without dependents. So is anyone surprised? I don't know. Moving forward, yeah. So back to this slide. This is what we have right now. This isn't what necessarily, what we should have forever. So just think about like what ways we can address the things that we see. And for the future of the project, we're gonna run it again in the future. And I have many ideas for what else to ask and what other things to examine based on all the really interesting talks and topics covered in this conference. And we want to just expand it to more people. So get in touch, email luthierIncomeSurvey@gmail.com to get on the mailing list and ask questions or offer feedback. And that's it.
Hey, thank you so much, MJ. Okay, so we have 1 question. What does insufficient data mean? Oh shoot, sorry, lost it because it's in the chat. So if somebody posts, I lose it. Okay, what does insufficient data mean in the insufficient data for Lutherie instruction?
Oh, so that just means that there weren't enough people that I could feel comfortable averaging it and displaying to everybody, because I try to never average less than 5 people.
Alrighty, and then we have another question from Rachel Spitzbecker. Should we fill out the survey every year anew?
I am gonna close this survey at the end of the year, and then we're gonna restart it in 3 years. And take 3 years at a time again.
And then it seems like Hillary Brady also has a question. Do you happen to know what is lost it. What is the full/final report MJ mentioned, Ned? Something about coming out in January, February 2023?
Yeah, I don't have exact details, but I'm waiting for the updated numbers from the US study on cost of living for the past year. And so basically in the meantime, I'm gonna let people keep pouring in their survey responses. Yeah, and then I'll release everything in full detail. Well, not individual responses, of course, but yeah, the summary, the detailed summary.
Well, thank you so much, MJ. This was super interesting, and it helped me learn about statistics and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I think more than one person is just like super delighted to have this information, and will probably, will be participating in case they didn't know about it. And yay, thank you.
Yay, good. Yeah, I hope we can all learn a bunch of stuff from this and just be like,
yeah,
data, y'all. So
yeah, I mean, knowledge is power. So thank you so much for the knowledge you have brought to us.
okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And I guess we're not going to have a break, ladies. We're going to go straight into our next session. That is French polish finishing with Monica Esparza. Okay, so hailing from Southern California, Monica began her fretted instrument work in 2000, pursuing many projects, including the build of a 16th century vihuela replica. She enjoys the opportunity to be creative and to take part in the music culture that she connects to. She plays tennis several times a week and loves putting Legos and jigsaw puzzles together and keeping up with her daughter, a research scientist for NASA, a lifelong learner. Monica is always expanding the depths of her knowledge of the instrument she builds. In this session, classical guitar and flamenco guitar maker Monica will share her step-by-step insight on the application process of French polish on guitars for a beautiful finish. So thank you so much, Monica, for being here with us. Oh,
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. Well, take it away. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. I know that the whole 30-minute video, I tried to shrink it up as much as I could, but French polishing is so time consuming that I did put together my video to, in a nutshell, what it does take to French polish an instrument. Spanish guitars, classical guitars are traditionally known to be finished with a very, very thin finish, organic finish that is French polish. So if you'd like, we can jump into the video and see if we have any time for a question. I'd be happy to answer anything you have. So take it away. French polishing is the process of applying shellac on a surface, whether it be a piece of furniture or, in this case, guitars. You can purchase shellac already made in a can, a spray. It can be brushed on, it can be rubbed on. Shellac is an organic byproduct of the insect lac. You just get the flakes, it's organic, you just dissolve it in alcohol, filter it, and it's ready to go. Some people